guys, welcome back to the People in Progress podcast, where we talk all things self-improvement, lifestyle, and how to live your best life. I'm your host Elsa, and this episode is all about ins and outs of fall. We are about halfway through, October and the fall season at the minute, and I've been thinking a lot about what's in and what's out, what I want to do, what I don't want to do, things you should invest in, things you shouldn't, things I'm doing and things I'm not. So that's what this is. This is ins and outs for this season. And if you haven't heard this before, this is something the Washington Post does at the beginning of every year. They have a list of like what's in and what's out, and it's all pop culture stuff, cultural society stuff, habits, activities, etc. And then there's a lot of like fashion stuff, and this was also a big trend on TikTok. And yeah, I'll talk a bit more about life in a minute, but I just wanted a chill, fun, nice, casual, easy listening episode today, so that is what we're doing. I believe I have about 8 for each in and out, so 8 ins, 8 outs. And let's get into the segments for today's episode. Okay, so first of all, what is progressing my life at the minute? Definitely cooking. I actually at the minute have some butternut squash roasting in the oven. I've been loving using seasonal produce and also apples. I'll talk a bit about it later because it's to do with one of the ins, but I made apple butter last night and I've just been loving making things from scratch. And I think I mentioned this in a past episode, probably in September, that I wasn't feeling super inspired with cooking, but I'm definitely getting more into the swing of it, getting more into meal planning, everything like that. This is something I'm always into, but I'm just getting more in the swing of it, and I've been loving it, and it's been improving my life so much. I always love when I'm in a very cooking inspired mood. But what is holding me back? And now this was an interesting one, and I think I'm going to call it autopilot. I feel like I've been on autopilot for a little bit because when I was ill, I just needed to sit back and chill and do the basics, because I feel like I wasn't getting better for a while because I was trying to like keep going with life and keep going at full speed, and I needed to slow down for a bit. And I'm finally, I'm definitely not 100% better, but I would say I am finally not ill anymore. And I was ill for almost 3 months. It was some crazy sickness I probably got on a plane. I think it was a chest infection. But yeah, I'm glad to be over that. But now I need to get back in the driver's seat, back in control of life. And yeah, that's what I've been working on. I'm doing this through meal planning, through goal setting, through doing morning pages, just things where I'm a bit more intentional, because I feel like time was passing me by pretty quickly and I wasn't, in the driver's seat per se. But I feel like I also needed that to get better. So it's not a dip, it's just something I want to change, I guess, in the next couple weeks. And a little life update. I haven't spoken to you guys since Thanksgiving, which was Canadian Thanksgiving, by the way. I took a week off that week because we had the Thanksgiving on the Monday, which is when the podcast normally comes out. And then also, like I said, I was just trying to get better, chilling out, taking it really easy because I needed to. But I am enjoying fall so much. I had a day last week where we went to Gatineau Park. We hiked Mount King, or Mont King, I guess. It's in Quebec, so I guess it's French. We went apple picking, and we're actually going to Vermont soon for my birthday, so I'm so excited for that. We're doing all the fall things and I'm just having the best time, really enjoying the season, and I'm also very excited for the colder weather. It's definitely like chilly at the minute. I can wear a jumper comfortably, but I'm also getting pretty hyped up for winter. So I'm just loving the season at the minute, loving the, the burr months, as people call them: September, October, November, December. And my current read, I'm actually reading a sci-fi romance at the minute. It is called the Clarkanian series, and I read this like at the beginning of the year, and it really helped me get out of a reading slump and just a slump in general. And I don't know what it was. September was a real slumpy kind of month for me reading wise, and I think I've been in a bit of a reading slump since I went away in July, August, to be honest, just because when I was away I kind of wanted to do a bunch of summer reading, but I didn't get a lot done, and I think I've been slowly slipping into a slump and I didn't even realize since then. And I finally just addressed it, and I was like, I need some quick, short, fun reads that are just going to be pure enjoyment. And I don't know, I needed something as well, because I was reading some books I really liked, but they were long and I wasn't feeling encouraged because it was taking me forever to get through them. So I needed some reads that I was going to get through quickly. And yeah, so I've been reading a lot of like short books, novellas, sci-fi, stuff like that, and I think I'm not in a slump anymore, which is great. Okay, the first in we're going to talk about is living seasonally. So although I said I am very excited for winter, I'm really trying to live in the moment. And this is something I realized in September when I wanted it to be cold, really like fall. I mean, I've spoken about this before. My favorite type of fall is like October fall, where it's like much more cold and like sweater weather. But September is still fall. It's just kind of its own version of it. It's like end of summer, beginning of fall. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, even if you're excited for fall, which I feel like a lot of people are, just live in the moment and appreciate the season you are currently in. It doesn't have to be perfect, like Instagrammable fall. It can just be like the beginning of apple season or the end of summer, like vegetable season, going to the farmer's market, starting to drink hot coffees. Just appreciate the seasons as they are currently and appreciate what is in season, appreciate doing seasonal activities. Truly, I guess what I'm trying to say is to be in the moment. But like I said, I'm loving the season at the minute, and I was listening to Mary Skinner's podcast, and she is definitely like a winter girl, and I love the way she talks about winter. And I'm definitely in the same boat where I just got interrupted because Jake was showing me there's a squirrel on our Ring doorbell. I can't remember what I was saying, but I'm just loving the season at the minute, and I'm rambling totally. And now for an out. By the way, this is going to go in, out, in, out. We're alternating. I was going to do all the ins and all the outs, but I feel like this works a bit better. I think AirPods and in-ear headphones are an out. And now I'm not saying this is like a fashion thing, because I feel like, and I'm going to talk about this later. Well, actually, I'm not going to talk about this later. I was going to have a whole de-influencing section at the end of this episode, because I had so much more to talk about, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to include that as like a little fun thing at the end of another episode. And that's something I've been trying to do, is at the end of like episodes, especially if they're a bit more like advice heavy or whatever, just to include something like fun. And this episode I feel like is an entirely fun episode, so I don't need to include something different that's fun at the end, if that makes sense. But I have a bunch more fall ins and outs and some like full de-influencing, so I might include that at the end of other episodes. Let me know if you want to hear that. So what I was going to say in the de-influencing is, don't let trendy headphones make you buy different headphones, because I think headphones are so expensive. And I was talking about AirPods and stuff in this bit, but I might talk about this at the end of another episode, like I said. But headphones are not something to change just because of trends. However, in-ear headphones are just the worst. First of all, they're not good for you because they are in your ear and close to your eardrum. They can actually risk hearing damage. And I don't know about other people, I did see this when I was researching, but I know personally if I wear in-ear headphones, I get really bad headaches. And I think having them in-ear, because they're so small and portable, it means that people wear them all the time, which again is not good for hearing. But also the amount of times I see people driving with AirPods is infuriating. So although I don't think you should swap headphones just because things are trendy, I do think over-ear headphones are definitely better, and they were out of style for a while, but I've always loved them. The sound quality is so much better, they're so much better for your hearing, and I think they're so cute and they're way more comfortable. So if you do have a good pair of working over-ear headphones, you definitely don't need a new pair. I will link down below the pair I have. I believe they are Sennheiser. They're really good, but I think in-ears are totally out. I hate them, and I feel like I never liked them, but they were so trendy for a bit in the 2010s, and I'm glad we're swapping that trend. Okay, but board games are in. It is such a fun, wholesome activity, and I feel like they have been so underrated for so long, and I do think they've been coming back into trend, definitely, but I don't know why we stopped doing these. I love that it's a great way to bond with people, but it's also an activity that makes you think creatively and makes your brain work really hard. Well, not really hard, but in like a sort of more reflexive, I guess, brain exercise kind of way. There is also something for everyone, whether you're into like D&D fantasy stuff, or like word games, or number games, or just like more story-based games. Or for example, like there are 2-player games, there are big group games, there are like more acting kind of games, but then you can also find board games for single player if you want to. Just as an example, me and my boyfriend Jake have been loving Scattergories recently. Then for Thanksgiving, I actually made some Thanksgiving themed Scattergories that we played like between dinner and dessert. But yeah, so fun. Okay, and this might be controversial, but I think girl math is out. And now don't get me wrong, I heard I forget which podcast it was, but someone was like, oh, girl math, and she was using it in the way where it was like something that maybe doesn't make sense but also makes sense for you. So like I'm trying to think, something that you might do just because like it makes sense in your brain. And she was like, oh, girl math. And that I think is funny. And also I get it's funny when people talk about like, oh, if you return something, then whatever you buy with a gift card is like free. Like that is funny. However, I think especially on TikTok, it's got really patronizing. And I think this is particularly with brands doing it to talk about like why you should buy their product. I'm like, just talk about the value of your product. I get marketing and I get why you have to do trend. The fact that it's like girl math, it's just going back to like throw like a girl and all the stuff that we talked out of our culture, or at least trying to get out of our culture, and now we're just bringing it back. And let me bring out the sociologist in me for a second, because this leans into gendered subject choice so much. There is this sort of stereotype that women are bad at math, and it's just terrible. And I know I'm taking this too deep, but I just don't like the word, and I'm so overseeing it on TikTok. It's very overdone. When I was planning out this episode yesterday, I was actually making something in the Instant Pot, and I was thinking about how we need to focus rather on like girl math, like little treats, because I'll talk about this later. I'm so into little treats, but people just being like, oh, I'll just buy it because girl math is almost free. But we need to focus on like spending money on things that maybe aren't super cheap but are really rewarding purchases. Like for example, like I was saying, the Instant Pot, that was definitely a splurge, but I was using it yesterday and I love it so much. It's like an air fryer, slow cooker, normal stove. What else was I doing in it? Well, I was making apple butter, and I needed so many different things, and I did it all in one place, and it was just incredible. But every time I use that, it's a purchase where I'm so glad I got it despite the money. While I feel like this girl math is kind of leaning a bit into buying things that make you happy momentarily, but long term don't feel fulfilling, and it's very consumeristic. I'm not into the trend. I don't know if that's controversial. I'm very much getting too deep with it, but that's my opinion. But what is in is having your phone on do not disturb. I don't know about anyone else, but the notification sound scares me, and I love just answering things on my own terms. Something else I've done is I've also redone my home screen, which is all in like widgets rather than actual apps, and I've like changed it so it's cute and aesthetic. And one other benefit of this is I actually can't see the notifications. Like I don't have the app with the circle next to it that says how many notifications I have, because they're just widgets. And at first this was kind of jarring, but I love it because truly you do not need to answer anything immediately. Unless it's an emergency, someone will find a way to reach you, I'm sure. And I feel like you just get a sort of, what's the word, like a sense if something is important. But for just basic messages, there is no reason you need to respond and drop everything right away. Just respond to things on your own terms, and it is so freeing. But talking about like phones and stuff, low vibe content is out, and I've been talking about this for ages. I feel like really in the past year I've really got into this. But whatever this is for you, you need to set boundaries online. A lot of content is low vibrational, it's negative, it's complaining, it's also about things that don't make you feel good, and you should be consuming content that is really higher vibrational, stuff that makes you feel great, inspired. You want to be reflexive and really think about the emotions you're feeling when you consume different content and go on different social media. And now I'm dying to do a whole episode about how to make social media good for you and about high vibe, low vibe content. But some examples of low vibe content are hate following, looking at content you don't like kind of to argue against it or just to see what people are saying, very gossipy content and all of that. But the biggest example is true crime. I, to be honest, am not a true crime fan at all, and I get why people like it, but it is not for me, and it is so low vibrational. It makes me so anxious and so upset, and it is just not something I enjoy. And instead, I think if you are into that content, replacing it with mystery novels and stuff like that is so much better for your mental health. So yeah, low vibrational content is not in this season. But what is in is early bedtimes, and I've never been a type of person to go to bed early. I'm definitely, I wouldn't say a night owl, because night owl and morning owl, that's not the word for it, morning person. I feel like those words just aren't it. They are not a good way to label ourselves, because, I don't know, I could get into it, but I've definitely am not a morning person, but I still feel so much better if I wake up in the mornings, if that makes sense. But I definitely think that going to sleep early is in. I've seen so many more people prioritizing night routines and prioritizing sleep health, and I think it is amazing. It's something I've really got into this year. I've been using a red light before I go to bed, trying to keep the house cool when I sleep, really taking note of how my sleep is affected by different factors around me, and one of them is going to bed early and giving myself time to read and shower and relax and wind down before bed. And I think this comes on top of this isn't an official out, but it is an out in the last couple years. I feel like we had this competition culture of, oh, I'm so tired, I got this much sleep, oh, I slept less than you. This kind of competitive, I'm so tired culture, if that makes sense. And I'm loving that going to bed early, prioritizing sleep is coming in rather than that. Another out, this is a fashion out, and it is the white shoe of the season. I decided I hate this. So it used to be chunky trainers, then it's Sambas and Gazelles, they're like Adidas shoes this season. I saw these shoes, I think it's the Sambas, and I literally had these in 2017 and I didn't like them. And I think it's like, you need to find a shoe that works for you. So for example, on me, definitely a chunkier sneaker looks better, but everyone's transitioning and getting rid of their chunky sneakers and saying they're like chuggy or whatever, which I hate that word. But people are getting rid of those and swapping for whatever's trendy. But there is no reason a pair of sneakers should only last you 6 months. That is insane. Learn how to wash your shoes. Like I said, find what's comfortable for you, find what suits your personal style. There is no reason for you to be changing what type of sneaker you wear all the time. Again, personal style is in, find what suits your style. And like I was talking about fashion, an in is practical but cute fashion. So invest in things you'll actually use. For example, base layers, comfortable jeans, coats that are really practical, also basic t-shirts. And I've been thinking about this a lot because we've been getting into winter here, so I've been looking for example, the Uniqlo thermal base layers. So cute, but also so practical. And also I've been looking at ski gear, and again, you want cute and practical stuff. So like I said, I've been looking at seasons. I think looking at where you live and what's actually practical for you and what you're going to use a lot of. For example, like Uggs are super trendy, but I was just hearing someone talk about this the other day, but like where I lived in Vancouver, it is super rainy, they are suede, it is not worth investing in Uggs. And like here where I am in Ottawa, ballet flats are really cute, but with the cold weather and the snow coming up, it is not a trend that I want to invest in. So I think investing in things that are really practical and trying to make the things that are practical really cute and not trendy stuff and not stuff that doesn't suit your area is an in. But more fashion and out is trendy jackets. This annoys me so much because jackets are like one of the most expensive things you can buy. Jackets, coats, outerwear. I guess not the most expensive, that's a bad way to say it, but like of clothing items, they are one of the more expensive pieces. Even the basic cheaper ones are way more expensive than like a t-shirt or trousers. A good coat should last you a lifetime, and I feel like this is a piece where you need to go timeless with it. I think if you're going to go trendy, a jacket is absolutely not the place to do it. It's better to go trendy with like accessories or a top or something. But an in is reading. I love reading, and I'm so happy because I feel like it is just the most mainstream it has ever been. I love that people aren't ashamed to talk about all the books they love and how much they enjoy reading, and I'm so glad it's given so many opportunities to authors, to bookstores, to everything. It is just incredible. Bookshelves are in, bookshops are in, Kindles are in, book collections are in. I've done an entire YouTube video about getting into reading, how to get into reading, and why it's really good. So I won't ramble too much. I'll link that video in the show notes. It is a really good video if you're getting into reading because it is such an incredible habit and it is so good for you and it's so fun and it is perfect for the fall winter season. There is nothing better than cozying up and reading a good book. But moving in from the in, what is out is self-sabotage. Now this is a bit of a weird one, but let me get into it. I feel like everyone is guilty of this, so I'm writing this down because I feel like we need to be conscious about it. I've defined self-sabotage as consciously doing something you know is not good for you or something you know you'll regret. Now this isn't being intuitive, having a treat, or doing it for the plot, or going on vacation, or taking a break or sleeping in if you need it. Those are all things that are in. They're all good. It's more stuff like letting emails build up when you know that will stress you out, not spending enough time outside because you're burning yourself out, or doing things that lead to burnout like not taking breaks and not taking vacations, etc, etc. It's also saying yes when you know you want to say no, or going out when you're far too tired. Okay, but moving on to an in, I've been really into less is more makeup. I feel like usually summer is like a time for more cream products and like less is more, but I've been really into like less is more for winter because like skincare is makeup. Winter and cold weather really dries out your skin, and I want to feel hydrated and glowy even when it's like quite dry outside. I think cream products and highlighting things you want to highlight and maybe showing your natural skin. So for example, I love to do a bit of eyeliner. I'm not wearing any today, but I usually wear mascara because I love highlighting my eyes. But you know, I'll wear a bit of concealer, but I can't even remember the last time I wore foundation because I feel like I just love, I don't know, it's not feeling natural because that's like a silly word and is used in a silly way, but it's just feeling comfortable in my own skin, I guess. And sort of on the same note, an out is filters. And now, don't get me wrong, filters are kind of fun in a way where if you want to make your photos look like film, or like, for example, I think it's kind of the time, all my 2016 like teenage photos all have the dog filter on them, and almost all my second year uni photos have like this weird Snapchat pigeon on my head, and like I don't regret that. I think that was so fun, but I think currently like more realistic non-edited photos are just what is in. And like I said, Snapchat and Instagram filters I feel like have been out for a long time. I don't mean like the 2014 Instagram filters, I mean even putting them on your stories and stuff. I feel like that has not been trending for a while, but what is annoying me is the TikTok filters where they're like very subtle and very subtly morph your face. For example, I think it's the one Alex Earl uses, which is like the blue eyes filter, where it's so subtle. And don't get me wrong, I occasionally use a TikTok filter, but I think the rate of people using them is just so uncomfortable, and I feel like we all need to be just more comfortable in showing what our faces actually look like, because we've got far too used to faces on the internet all being morphed. And I love a good fun filter, but it's like, why is it making your nose smaller? Why is it slimming your jaw? And to get sociological again, this actually massively reminded me of a media theory I studied in A-level. Not going to get massively into it, pretty sure it's by Baudrillard, which is a French name, which I'm sure I'm butchering. But it's getting into this thing where what we see on the internet is like a copy of reality that's edited, and it's like these faces of famous people. Do you think if you even saw them in person, you would recognize what they look like? Because who they are online is a copy of a copy of a copy. It's not even who they are as a person. And I'm not insulting these people. I feel like it's just a norm on social media, but it's blurring what reality actually is. Like, I hate all these slimming whatever filters, and it's like no one actually looks like that. Anyway, little rant about editing, but filters, editing, all that is an out. Okay, so for our last in, the in is making things at home. And like I said, I'm not anti getting a little treat, going to Starbucks, buying yourself like a pastry, whatever. I love that. But I feel like once you've had something, you should try recreate it at home, because you have no idea how all these Starbucks drinks, all these pastries, whatever, they are actually quite easy to make. But I feel like we're in this culture where we think you can only get these things when you're out, and you can make them. Trust me. It is so much fun. It is so fulfilling. And it's way easier than you think. So for example, I've been really into making coffee creamer at home. If you've watched my vlogs, I've been talking about it a bit. And I think maybe I've posted TikToks about it and shown you how to make it in my vlogs. If you have any questions, just DM the podcast Instagram and, you know, I can send you links. But I've made like Reese's creamer at home. I've made cake batter creamer. And then also a couple weeks ago, I bought apple butter from the farmer's market. And last night, like I was mentioning in the Instant Pot, I made and canned my own apple butter, and it was so fun. It's so fulfilling, and I cannot believe I've made it. I just am so into this make it at home thing, and I feel like I've seen it trending on social media, obviously with like homestead kind of stuff and like slow living content. I love it, and if you haven't tried making some of your favorite treats at home, you definitely need to. So that was the last in, and now for the last out. This is such a niche one, but it irks me so much, and that is people mispronouncing things on TikTok for views. This is an out. I am sick of seeing it. If I see this content, I feel like this might be controversial. And now, quick tangent. I actually, now saying this out loud, I feel like this episode's been more controversial than I thought it would be, and I feel like a lot of people would say a little disclaimer saying this is just my opinion, do whatever you want at the beginning, and maybe I should have said that, but I feel like you guys are smart enough where I don't have to say that. But if I see this type of content, I will immediately discredit it and see it as less worthy. And that is kind of horrid, because these people, as a content creator, I know put a lot of time into it, but I do not like the idea of people mispronouncing things for engagement, and you see it all the time, and I'm so sorry, but I hate it. I hate it so much. And I have personally had some videos do better because I've had a couple things where I've mispronounced something, or a lot of things do well, or people comment because of my voice, because of the way I say things, but that's just my voice. I would never mispronounce something on purpose. But when it happens to me, that is not the kind of engagement I want, and I don't know why other people do this for this kind of like almost fake boost of engagement. It is not something I like, and I'm so into authenticity and authentic social media, and yeah, so mispronouncing stuff on TikTok for views is an out this season and always. So I feel like these ins and outs have been semi-seasonal. The ins are probably more seasonal, and the outs are more just things that are irking me at the minute. But yeah, this has been my ins and outs, just a fun little chatty episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed it a little bit, and I hope it wasn't too negative. I hope it was fun and I had enough nice things in there. But in terms of some other stuff, I know we missed a week of the podcast because of Thanksgiving, but things are getting back on track, and if you have been listening to the podcast, the self-discovery workbook is coming, but like I said, things have been slow and I've been needing to take it easy. It'll probably be here in the next week, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, that is related to my Dream Life series and the past like couple episodes I've been doing. But otherwise, just stay cozy, keep enjoying fall, and my birthday is coming up this weekend. And if you would like to give me a little present, please, please, please rate this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. For example, like Apple and Spotify, I know you can rate a review on there. And if you're feeling extra generous, I would absolutely love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Elsa Moira. And yeah, just thank you again so much for listening. See you guys next week. Stay cozy.